Not yet. Not yet. We rock that side.
Okay. From doing that, you got.
It's nervous excitement, you know, hoping that you've hit the right setup with the car.
It's an exciting time.
Knowing the challenge you're up against and preparing for it.
It's a fun time to get together with a bunch of friends.
Grueling.
Stressful.
Scramble.
Lots of tuning.
Hard work.
Counting on my team.
This year we're going to try a new car. We're going to run an NSR Mosler. We're running our go-to motor for these endurance races, which is a scale auto blue ball bearing motor. Our gear ratio right now is 12:31.
We went with that type of gear ratio because it gives us a good compromise between out-and-out speed, quickness out of the corners, and an overall braking going into the corners. The wheels we're using are CBD design wheels. They're aluminum wheels, they're true. We've got them on the fronts and the back. On the fronts, they're just a standard 15x8 wheel with a zero grip tire that we coat. And I believe the tire we're running is a 1425, a super tire. So it gives us a fair amount of sidewall or cushion for the back end of the car that we feel also helps in a sense to give us a little bit of suspension.
On my team, there's 5 guys, all from Michigan. Each guy has got during the race, has got their own selected lane. As far as setting up the car and building the car, there is no one person has to do anything except for Craig Jensen, who did all our paint work on our cars.
We brought a multitude of cars, but we ended up going with a Slotted 911 GT1. We put a scale auto 25,000 yellow can motor. With going with a higher RPM motor this year over what we did last year, we geared up on the gearing just to get more speed out of the corner, but still have the same, you know, a higher ratio to offset that larger RPM.
12 pinion, 36 spur gear. Started out with a base and we gradually started to work, put some weight in, decided that last little thing we wanted to do was change the spur gear one notch to tame the car a little bit through the corners.
There's 5 people on our team from Team Cincy Slot Rods. We have 3 from Cincinnati, we have 1 from Columbus, and we have 1 guy from Michigan that races with Mike on a weekly basis. We kind of share all the responsibilities. We all have, as we test the cars, each one of us, you know, runs the car we feel is the quickest at the time. Each get our feedback and of how we interpret the car, because just like in real racing, you have to find a compromise.
It's a Lola from 2010 that ran in Le Mans. Yeah, it's a Lola from Slotted. It has an angle winder stock motor. We changed gears, the guide, tires of course.
The 25K standard motor in the Slotted. Generally too much motor here, but we've geared it down. The rear tires, we glue them on the rims, put them on the truer, and once you have them trued up a little bit, radius the corners so that there's not a sharp edge on there. When they're going around the corner, they don't want to catch anything. I have 5 men on my team. Pascal kind of takes the lead at bringing us together a little bit. We'll email back and forth. I got a panic email about 2 weeks ago. What are we doing? What are we running for cars? How's the team running? James put together our rotation cycle. I told him I had a couple cars. James had a car. Pascal's from Montreal, Quebec. I'm from Nashua, New Hampshire. James is from not too far away from the area. Corey is from down on the Michigan-Ohio border. So we are scattered all over the place.
We brought a lot of different cars because we've never raced in this race before. So we brought the NSR Mosler. We also brought a couple of cars by Slotted. We ultimately decided to run the NSR Mosler. We're using a motor made by NSR. It's a 25,000 RPM. It's called a Shark 25.
We're running a 1232 gear ratio. We showed up with a 20,000 RPM motor, geared 1232, and we had absolutely no top end. So we actually maintained the gear and increased to a higher RPM motor. Slotted axles, slotting plus guides, the motor's glued.
Our strategy is to, we pick lanes and we assign lanes. It's not as exciting, it's not as much fun as running all over the track, but you typically run more consistent if you stay on the same lane.
We're running a slotted Lola this year. Nobody's really ran an LMP car here before. Everybody has always run GTs, and wanted to kind of think outside the box. So I decided to go with that car and turn it into an endurance car for this Michigan 24 this year and see what we got, and I was really pleased with the results. This thing really holds on. That's kind of unconventional, what I've got in my particular Lola. Normally they always come with a long can, a low profile type motor. I went with a short can, Shark 22400K motor, and because it sets up a little taller than a low profile motor, I had to put some spacers on the back post just to jack it on up so that the motor and the top of the body weren't in contact, so I got my body float out of it. Changed the pinion gear on it. Instead of stock, which I believe was 11, I got a 12 in there. And I say that, I believe, because I've set so many cars on up, I tend to forget what the heck I've got in these things. This is the first year that I know of that anybody has tried running an angle winder here, and everybody was kind of wondering about the gear mesh staying good through a 24-hour race. Well, we're going to put it to the test this year, and we'll see. Maybe we'll open a few people's eyes that that's another way of going, because before it was always a sidewinder, sidewinders. We got 5 guys on our team this year.
Our race strategy is to run a steady, even race. You want to do quick lap times, but you don't want to beat your car. It's got to get through 24 hours.
Oh, we actually brought 6 or 7 cars this year, different types of cars. We brought some NSR cars, we brought some slotted cars, and we have a racer car. At this point, we still haven't decided 100%, but it looks like we're probably going to race one of the NSR cars.
We are running a Scale Auto 20,000 RPM ball bearing motor. Not sure if we're going to do a 13-tooth pinion with maybe a 36 gear or a 12-tooth and a 31-tooth spur gear, so we're still experimenting with it. Well, it's really about, it's both, you're looking for how fast the car's going, but you're also looking for the consistency of the car. With all of the team members, not necessarily one, we ask one person to do a lot of the testing. Then once we get close, we'll give the car to all of the drivers and say, hey, run some laps. What are you running for times? And we'll look and I'll keep watch on their times and see what they're running. We have CBD wheels from Slot Car Corner. For tires, we run a silicone tire. Now there are some differences, whether it's a flat side or a rounded side tire. We're running a rounded side tire that is modified. For front tires, we'll use a zero grip, but I kind of make my own zero grip. I put glue on the front tires, and then I'll true them so they're smooth, so there's no traction from the front tires. We've kind of over the years come up with our own responsibility. It's been my job to build the cars and to maintain them during the race. There's somebody else, Dickie Pearson. He's our test driver, so he tests the cars out and gives us feedback on them. Steve tends to be the guy with the new tools and the new ideas and the bling. Steve's responsible for that. And Christian and George are good, consistent drivers. It makes for a great team.
It's a fun track. It's fast.
This track is interesting in that it has both a technical feature and kind of a wide open feature. The technicality of this track can be deceiving because the parts that you think are technical are not the most technical part. There's a dogleg in this track that doesn't look like it would take you by surprise, and it does.
It was a big eye-opener for me. I didn't realize the track would be that fast.
This track has great fun, you know, but you get into a rhythm, because it's really about a rhythm, you know, and you don't think about it every turn. You get into a rhythm, okay, you know, throttle, brake, coast, throttle, brake, coast, and it just becomes a rhythm that you start flowing. And as you get better as a driver, you start picking up going, you know what, I can brake a little later, or I need a little bit more coast here. There's no chance to take a breather on this track. You can, but you just lost a lap.
The Cloverleaf racing track is one of the fastest and smoothest flowing racetracks I've raced on, and I can really see how the world record has been set here.
Here we go. Thank you. I'm going to get wet. Oh, there we go. Rack them up everywhere.
The slot car corner, our specially prepared NSR Mosler, continues to run very, very well. We've now finished the night segments of the race, and other than changing a couple of pairs of tires, some routine maintenance, lubrication, cleaning the braid, that sort of thing, we're very, very happy with the way the car is running.
Through the night, we struggled a little bit. Our car was running pretty well, but it was loose. Didn't have a lot of rear grip. So the car was sliding around, and in the dark, that made it kind of difficult to drive. So it was a challenge. We probably, as a whole, we did okay at night. We may have lost some laps to some of the top teams due to us fighting the handling of the car.
The slotted Porsche is running great. We changed the motor about halfway through the race. They're slowing down on us, and we were able to pick up the extra seconds that we needed, and we were able to catch Can-Am, the fifth place team at the time. We've since passed them, and we're now 90 laps ahead of them.
Our slotted Lola is doing quite well. We had to change tires on it a few times during the race to keep the speed on up, but it's a good car, but it ain't like Slot Car Corner's car.
Cloverleaf NSR Mosler and its performance has dropped off rather dramatically. Once again, the motor has failed us. I shouldn't say failed, but it has definitely dropped off in that it's not going nearly as fast as it was. We had the same problem last year, and believe it or not, we had the same problem the year before, and you'd think we would learn our lesson.
Slotted Lola has had a tumultuous 24 hours. The set screws to set the front axles have pulled out twice. We've replaced the chassis. We've had braid problems on our guide. The car originally was set up for Saturday night racing, not for a 24-hour race. That wasn't anybody's fault. We really hadn't intended on using that car, but it's had its moments. Right now, the front axle is wobbling up and down, so when you get into the corner will pitch down. It'll lift the opposing rear wheel off. It's pretty hard to drive right now.
We're running quick enough where we're on pace to break the record, so we're not going to touch it, but little disappointing that we slowed down some.
Find out if there's any ties.
Who's turning this race into the race it has become. This race started off as an idea, and just to see if we could get a couple groups from different areas together, and it's actually grown to have a life of its own, basically. And I really appreciate everyone who's put the effort to come here and set up cars and have fun. And at the end of the day, that's what this whole thing's about, is having fun, and I hope everyone's having fun. Win, lose, or draw, it's always a great time, and it's always great seeing you guys once, twice, 3 times a year. And it's my honor to present this trophy to Slot Car Corner for their awesome world-setting record again. Thanks.
I loved the Michigan 24-hour 2014 edition. It was a great time. We had a great group of guys from out of town come in, and of course we know and love our group of guys here in the Detroit area and on the west side of Michigan. It was just a blast. I looked forward to this for such a long time, and now it's over with. So it's all the excitement's gone, and the event's over, but we're already planning on what we're going to do next year.
And this year's Michigan 24 went off great, and we set another world record, and I can't wait for next year. So we'll see you next year.